for joining me tonight. It's
No
really
worries.
appreciated that you agreed to that. So if you would like to introduce yourself, Zoe, who you are, and tell us about yourself, and most importantly, tell us about your dogs.
Okay. So I'm Zoe Fithern, and I got. I probably my main thing is to say I got involved because I wanted to do something with my dog that was more than just standard, and they are a much unknown breed, but they're really really proper little working dogs. And I wanted to prove that they were more than just the show ponies that people saw them as.
Well, as I always said to you, I think that we have to tell people your breed is a Swedish Vallhund.
Yeah.
And I always said to you, this is a lot of dog in a small body, and I think lots of people don't appreciate that. So you have got a new dog.
Yeah.
I know a little bit about. So what happened there?
So I love working Dash. He does struggle with his short legs in heavy forest areas, and I think if you really want to be honest with yourself, which if you're going to be a SAR handler, you have to be very honest with yourself. As much as he has taught me so much, I have learned so much from him, and he's been so forgiving of all my mistakes. Ultimately, he struggles in that environment, and am I not doing a disservice to the people that I want to be able to help and find by not providing the best dog that I can into that environment? So, love him to bits, and he has done an amazing job teaching me all the basics, and getting me through lots of pitfalls. But ultimately, I want to bring the best dog I can to it.
So, but the new choice is not your.
So my new choice is a Mally. Yeah. She's a black and tan, so she's a bit different than most people are used to seeing, but she has lots of zest for it. So still very young and stupid at the moment, but
you don't make your life exceptionally easy, are you?
No. Yeah, no. Well, who wants an easy life? I want dogs.
No, it's boring.
I want dogs that are interesting.
So why a Mally? Why a Mally?
I like her drive. I like the breed's drive. I like the fact that you can really, if you work with them and you are serious about it, and I'm not talking half an hour once a week, they can rise to virtually every challenge you ask of them. Every time I think I've hit a wall, I ask a bit more of her, and she finds a bit more intelligence, a bit more dedication, a bit more perseverance to give to me.
Right. That's it's going to be an interesting journey, but you know that already, do, because I've been there, and I'm again on the route again, because I don't know if you worked it out.
Yeah, you're doing it yourself again, aren't you?
Yes, I have got a little Malinois. I helped out because nobody wanted him. He comes from exceptionally breeding background. I can't understand why people couldn't cope with him, because the only thing I think is proper funny. He has the right laugh, but he has got the appetite and the trailing abilities. He's 6.5 months now, and I totally get what you're saying about this breed. Is they get it? They just get it.
Yeah,
just get it. So tell us again, or tell us, when did you start mentoring and why?
So I had I think you're aware of this, but I had a fairly serious operation early in 2017 and had a brain tumor removed. And Dash was my loyal companion all the way through that. But as I started to recover from that, I wanted to do more with him. I think the first weekend I turned up to BMA, I was like, wow, I've heard of this man trailing thing. Let's give it a go. And as I staggered around the forest, having barely recovered from my operation, it must have been, it was amazing for me, because I was like, yes, there is life there. I can grasp it. I'm going to do it, and screw everybody else.
Well, obviously, after you told me, then I had a bit of a shock, and I thought, oh my God, if something would have happened to her or in my training, I got a little bit flustered then. So you managed to get me in sweat, kind of, when you told me then Yeah, it's just I don't know what it was. I can't remember. It was something. I think I should eat something. I feel a bit fuzzy in the head. Right? Okay. Why is that? Yeah. By the way, I had a major operation. Right? Okay. You tell me when you have enough, and please stop it a bit. But I think you absolutely thrived, and you and as a couple of other handlers, you made it super easy for us. You made it super easy for us. Because obviously you guys were the kind of guinea pigs on our course. When I started telling you guys about my ideas, what we think we should be doing, a couple of you guys were straight away behind us and said, "Oh yes, please! I really, really like to do this, and go for it." So, what made you finally then enroll in the course? Because saying something and doing it is a different thing.
Yeah, so I got involved not long at that, same sort of time into search and rescue itself. So I became a foot tech in search and rescue, and I just could see how much advantage the dogs will be. I was in search and rescue. They don't have a dog team, or at the time there was nothing, absolutely nothing there at all. And I just thought, wow, let's see what we can do. I think Dash has got a lot to give. Let's see how far we can go. And I sort of went on the course, and then I truly had to look myself in the face and say, what do you want? Can you achieve? And are you ever going to be good enough? Even good enough to reach a novice level, like that sort of, that's the starting blocks. That's the minimum standard you need to be to get to the starting blocks of life, of going out and putting your dog against someone's life out there.
Well, you achieved that with flying colors, obviously. I mean, I know you put a lot of your hard work into it, and so did all the other handlers. There is people always think it's following a process and you get a certificate, but it's nothing like that. So we talk a lot about that in a minute, a little bit more. So what do you think was your biggest success since the moment you started trailing? What was your biggest success?
Well, I mean, let's be honest about it. Passing the BMA course and getting that recognition from people that were already operational, that I had. It's not that you're there. It's that you have that starting block. You've got that starting point. You can reach that standard where we think that you are good enough to go as an operational. So it's always going to be. It's like the first year in anything. You're novice at it. But to achieve that, exactly, it says that you've achieved this minimum standard, and that was what really drew me to the BMA as well. You guys are all operational handlers. You've got experience of how search and rescue works, particularly search and rescue in England, which is missing, I think, a lot from people's knowledge base elsewhere. So yeah, I mean that for me was really key about why I chose BMA. I mean,
this is what we wanted to bring across, and this is what we wanted. We wanted to aid people who already part of search and rescue, because I think the really, really structured training sometimes is missing. And that's what I felt, and that was one of the reasons why we did this. So now we talk the biggest success. So what was the biggest challenge you had to overcome? What do you think?
I think for me personally, we hit about month 3, and I sat myself down and I said to myself, what do you want? Are you willing to make the sacrifices, to put the time in to achieve during this, or do you still want to carry along the pet line, which is nothing wrong with the pet side of it, but it's a different standard. Nobody's life is on the end of the line if you don't achieve a trail when you're just doing it for fun. Whereas if you're doing it for SAR, you've got to get it right. Otherwise, you might walk past somebody 10 feet away.
It's a huge step up. It is. A huge step up, and I think sometimes people don't.
I think I think they underestimate even people within SAR groups themselves, people who've been, doing dog training for a long period of time, underestimate really what it is that they're putting on their line. It's I suppose I've been in the territorial army as well, so I know that there's a time when your training has to becomes the be all and end all of it.
Yeah, I totally get that. So tell me for you personally, tell me. What are the 3 most influential people? You in this for a long while now. You are in this for a long while now. And when it comes to trailing, who do you think, if you leave us aside for a minute, who influenced you as well?
So I think, obviously leaving the MA to one side, because you're like the building blocks of my foundations. I have done quite a lot with the GA canine side of things. I like the fact that they're very dog led, so they don't try and force the dogs to do something. That's been really good for me. And I was just trying to think about who a third person might be, and I think it's more of a collective of ideas than an actual third person. I think everybody that I have touched base with, I've probably picked, even if it's just picked one little bit of information off them. Then I think that's probably fairest to say.
Oh, I agree with you, because we always said, even if you go to other people and train with them, and even if you go away and say, it wouldn't work for me, I'm already found for me and my dog what I want. Well, obviously now you're changing from Dash to Evie, and that will be a massive step up.
It is a huge change.
Me changing to a hound, that was a massive ask. I just so struggled. As you probably remember, I could not. I couldn't cope with this. Oh yeah, I know where I'm going, but I have really a lot of time. I can't be asked, where the Malis, as you know, that everything goes, yes, I've got this, and we are off kind of scenario. Not necessarily in the right direction first time round, but we are off anyways.
Yeah. Well, why are you hanging around for still? Why am I waiting for you?
All this crap, this harness and all of this thing, So what is one thing you and Dash did not ever expect would happen to you? One thing which you found very memorable for you too.
I think when I first went into it, that final piece that I did with you, that 1.5 miles with Dash in 28 degrees, that stands out in my mind as that was just like one of those moments that you really want to frame for the rest of your lives. Yeah. You think, take the feeling that I got from that, from knowing that we achieved that, we did it. It wasn't parlor tricks in any way. I had no idea, and he had to work in that heat, which for a double coated dog is really difficult anyway. And he did me proud, and I felt I did myself and you guys, but myself proud as well on that day.
Well, obviously, we always gave the option that you could have opted out and the next morning. But I think he was so keen on that day. I think he would have not done you any favors, because you remember, the external assessor was Danny Lyons, who comes.
Yeah, I remember when I got Dash out of the car, all he could hear was this, really? Come from Danny? And I was like, and then you went, you watch him, you watch what this dog can do.
What's going to happen in a minute. And he took photos and videos, I know, and he still talks about this today, actually. So, I think that I understand. And I think probably when he got into that whisper, your face, I'm never going to forget that face, though. You never, ever, you were standing there and looking at me like, really? Is that it? Kind of like that. And
when it all comes together, you're like, now I can see. I cried on that course. I smiled on that course. I found days where I thought, oh my God, what the hell am I doing?
Blood, what is it? Blood, sweat, and tears, and a lot
Exactly.
of swearing and all of that.
Very.
Talk about myth in training. What is, in your opinion, a very common myth you always hear from people when you talk about what you do?
I think that unfortunately there seems to have been this dilution of what the trailing dog does. As in, people have seen pet dogs doing it at a very low level and don't really understand the skill that comes in with operational dogs. There's for me, there's too much of a dilution of what people expect of those. Does that make sense?
So you think that the expectations are too low and people don't understand what we
so people don't understand the huge step up between your dog trailing across a relatively uncontaminated area and finding somebody with its packet of food, to going through a centre of a town centre, following somebody in a high contamination area, and then finding somebody unconscious from a drug overdose at the end of it. There's a huge difference between the two, and I think that has been diluted.
So you think people need to be educated again?
Yeah, I think there should be a little bit more of an acknowledgement of there's lots of quite low-level trainers at the moment teaching very basic sort of runaway style skills and saying, oh yeah, this is what search and rescue dogs do. Actually, there's a huge step between the difference. The difference between somebody doing pet scent work and an IED explosives dog finding stuff. So so I genuinely think that there's a lack of understanding of how much of a step up it is.
So the lack of understanding on the basis from the so-called man trailing community. That's what you're saying. Basically that. Okay, I get that. So, however, when it comes to the operational side of things, and I really do not ask to talk about politics here because that's an interview.
There's loads of it in trailing.
Two good friends about a thing we both are super passionate about. We both have similar dogs, and I don't want to talk about this. But do you think if more education would be given to relevant people in the SAR community, we would have an easier ride?
Yeah, I think there's a combination. I think it's both SAR and how we've conversed with the police as well, because really our dogs will be most effective in the first 4 hours. And often in the SAR community, they're not called out till 6 or 8 hours later. Well, if you want our dogs to be effective, you need to be getting them in earlier. And I think there in some places in the world that's been really understood, whereas in England, we're still 10 years behind.
Can we take Essex out of that?
Yeah, we'll take Essex out of it, but a lot of other places.
We seriously, but it took me nearly 12 years to sort this out, and we are now really quite high on the list when we've been called out, and it is now that they call us generally out, and if they already have this, is it too old kind of scenario, they ask because they decided before it was too old and it wasn't really. And I said, well, leave the decision to us because we as a subject matter experts just call us and we say yay or nay, basically. And that's what's happening at the moment here,
Yeah, and it would be nice. Unfortunately, I don't even think police departments talk to each other.
So it would be. I think it would be. I think we need to get somewhere where there's central when they do. But obviously, COVID didn't do us any favors, as we probably agree. Because we were due to go into the College of Policing and do it.
That's where to get it. That's where to get it.
That's what was on the plans, and now obviously it didn't happen. So what's your biggest challenge at the moment as a trailing handler, and how are you tackling that?
For me personally, it's just transferring my skills from one dog to another, and having patience as well. Because Dash was a more mature dog when I started doing this. So now I have to think, it's okay. She's only 17 months at the moment, and she's a girl. and she's, you know, there she had one season. She'll have another one later in this year. We know you don't like girls.
Girlies. Yeah.
But she's really good. I just have to give her a bit of a break. I mean, she worked happily through her last season, and make sure that I keep a structure in my training as well, so that I understand when I'm going forwards with her.
That's the mouth thing. You need to have a structure. You need to have a plan.
Yeah.
And that plan needs to be really detailed, because you know how quickly they learn stuff you really don't want them to learn.
Oh, yeah.
To undo that is a really, really hard thing, you know.
Yeah.
What do you think is the most important personality trait and strength somebody would need to want to become a trailing saw handler and operational handler? What do you think
I think you have to have an amazing amount of personal resilience. I think in order to cope with the politics, in order to cope with the fact that most of the trails you do, you will fail on, even training wise, you have to learn how to take each training trail and think, what was my objective? What did I want to achieve? What did I achieve? And even if you can only come away with that one, we got a really good start. We may not have done the trail, but we got an amazing start off it. If you can keep replicating that, and you can personally keep that buoyancy, keep going, that resilience going, because everybody around you will tell you their thoughts on you.
Wow, you know that. But so you think you need to start dealing with the rejection and with the failure, basically.
Yes, I think if you can't deal with rejection and failure, SAR isn't a place for you.
Okay. Yeah, couldn't agree more. So if one piece of advice you would have for somebody who start out as a trailing handler and would consider enrolling into our course to get more skills and get the basics under the belt, what one piece of advice would you give these people?
I would say you either need to be doing it 110% or don't bother. There is no half-assed effort with it. It is a fast-paced course designed that you do spend a lot of your own time moving from module to module. If you are not willing to put the work in between the weekends, don't bother. You're just wasting your time, and you're wasting the instructor's time.
Yeah, that's pretty much it.
There's no sugarcoating it. It is either you put the effort in or don't bother.
That's not, but is that not in everything in dog training? If you try to,
it is, but there's an awful lot of people get away with sliding by on the easy.
Yeah, but it doesn't work for some detection work, like the explo side of things.
Exactly. It doesn't work
for training. It doesn't work like that.
No, it doesn't work for anything with serious dog handling. Anything that way, you've got to go do it 110%.
Oh, that's so true, honestly. So, what is one lesson that being a trailing dog handler has taught you that you think everybody should learn at some point in their career?
I think it very much goes back to that. I have failed more trails than I care to think about, but no, I do think about it. But from each one, I found a learning point. On the days when your dog won't even start, you need to find your own learning point from that, because without that, you won't keep going. Without understanding why it is, what's happening, what it is you want to achieve, are you achieving that, you won't keep going.
I think I use a phrase saying be more dog.
Yeah, exactly, be more dog, definitely.
They just don't go home and dwell on it.
Yeah,
they're not miffed off, they're not angry about it, they're not peed off or anything like it. They just go home and they eat their dinner and they snooze about with a full belly as much as they had a successful trail.
Yeah.
Because if it were the only time it would be a real hunt and they would go hungry, that would be a totally different story. But they wouldn't fail next time, would they?
No, and they don't talk about it. They just think, well, what did I do wrong? How do I get past that? And what was the learning point? So
and it's human nature, is it? Because it's something where that's what we can't control.
yeah.
You know, trailing, you cannot control what's going on because you can't see what's going on.
Yes.
That.
Yeah.
Right. That's great. Thank you so much.
Cool. That's all right. No, you're very welcome. I always say that the BMA gave me all the building blocks to make me the person I am, to give me the start that I have. You know, I think without you guys, where would I be? I would be in cloud cuckoo land, you know.
No, that's great. That's what it's all about in the end of the day, you know. And I find it from the instructor's point of view, as I said, you guys, the first 2-3 courses made it super, super easy for us because you're always so dedicated, so keen, and you can do the best initial assessments as you like. You still get it sometimes wrong. And what's absolutely upsetting for us as instructors is when you have handlers who start being really, really dishonest, and they're not honest with themselves, and you try and try and try, and they don't take your feedback on board, and they're still not achieving, and you talk to them about the same thing every month again, and you end up with module 5, as you know, it's a double blind, and dogs start switching trails and stuff like that. Where you think then, wow, where did I go wrong?
Yeah.
And then you look back and you think, no, this time I'm not wrong. I'm just wrong with the candidate I let into the course, because we have 24 people out there who manage that and put everything in it, their heart, soul, everything in it, and with the dogs they had. And this is where we string along. We still live off you guys, the first course, the guinea pigs. So I hope to see you again, and thank you ever so much.
Oh, definitely. Yes. I have to say, the heat at the moment and Evie's age tends to mean that I'm probably going to wait till the autumn before coming up to see you guys again.
It is not very good. I mean, the hounds, they cope well with the heat, but I feel to me we didn't even have the spring. It did go from really being
cold. It went from freezing to boiling all of a sudden.
Yeah, exactly. So take care of your dogs.
Thank you, and yours.
Yeah, and I'll see you soon, Zoe. Thank you.
All right, bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye. Bye.